So how scared of the robots and AI are you at the moment, Charlie?
I am quite apprehensive. I think your ego is probably a little too big if you're not apprehensive. Like, I think you're a bit naive to think that things aren't going to really change that much. And it's a lot of people have said, it's like the Industrial Revolution. We've moved on from that, and it's all been fine. And I just don't think it's a fair comparison, because AI moves at such a rate of speed and is a continual learning super intelligence. So I don't think it's comparable to something that was human made and once done was kind of static for a while. So yeah, I am quite apprehensive. I think it's going to have a huge impact on how we do business, who stays in business, what kind of jobs are available, the difference between kind of not like the poor and the rich, was that?
Oh, like the disparity in wealth.
The disparity of wealth is going to be so much larger. And I think like the middle man who kind of feels safe at the minute, the white collar jobs, etc., those are the people that are really going to get pinched and struggle.
Killed by the robots first,
in want of a better word. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting time, which I am very nervous about. But I think, you've got to be proactive. There's no point kind of sitting on your laurels and going, this is the way we've always done things, we'll just carry on and hope for the best, because you'll be left behind.
For sure.
So I do think it's important to kind of take the positives and be proactive now, and start using AI to your benefit.
Definitely. I mean, I agree. I think I'm slightly less apprehensive, but that's mainly just because I'm trying to convince myself that I'm less apprehensive. I think I'm definitely slightly worried about what AI is going to be doing and how transformative it can be, like irrespective of marketing, but sort of like the general existential questions that it raises and all of that. And I don't know that we're in any way qualified to start talking about all the ethics and whatever of AI, but it's certainly going to be transformative. And even in like the last few years of our careers in marketing, the impact that it's had is crazy. All I can say is that I'm so grateful that I started my career before AI, because I think the process of using AI at the moment has to go kind of human AI back to human before you're like publishing anything or putting it out there. And I think the kind of skill set obtained like learning marketing without using AI will be very beneficial for those moving forward that are using AI. So I think that's not to say to everyone like, don't use AI in marketing if you're first getting into the job. But I think learning to like have an eye for what good looks like, knowing, like understanding fundamentally people and being orientated around marketing with understanding people and then using AI as an assistant to you, I think is the way, rather than like letting AI kind of give you all the answers. And I think we might get there where we're like asking AI, I've done this, is it correct?
I think eventually, that'll be the case. But like you say, at the minute, it definitely requires the human sandwich sort of thing, the like human, then the AI, then the human, then the AI, then the human, and then the human at the end as well. At the minute, AI doesn't have enough of a strategic and holistic view of like, if we are talking about brands, the full brand, and they aren't there, in the workshop kind of hearing about your kind of clients' pain points, etc. The little niggles and nuances that wouldn't be that obvious, and aren't the same for every single business. So kind of having that, like you say, that human experience is still so important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you'd be very silly to not still apply a lot of value to kind of human intuition in marketing, because I think it's kind of split down the middle, isn't it, in marketing, where there's like all this data and stuff over here that informs decision making, but then there is also just the lived experience. And I think if you live in just data and AI world without the lived experience and intuition, like if AI was to throw up something that you look at and you're like, that's a bit weird, then I would probably at this point trust my gut over what AI is saying. You know what I mean? Or what AI is given me. And I think
I heard this saying that was like, humans, trust yourself to do the gut work and let AI do the grunt work, which I think still very, like we say, it could change, and it probably will, but at the minute very much so, still let your gut lead the way, let your instincts get involved, for sure.
Yeah, for sure,
because it is all still quite bland if you don't put your own spin on it.
Oh yeah,
the
for sure.
output is very, you know, it's overused phrases, like it's so easy to spot. So, you know, being able to spot those kind of overused phrases and things like that is super important, because otherwise every brand is going to sound the same, and a lot do already.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it should be used, like, I guess we're pretty much talking about ChatGPT there, and any kind of like AI generative model that's generating content or whatever. But I think it has to be still very much based in strategy. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it gives you sort of like an answer or a response that does seem outside of the strategy, then that is on you to make sure that it's like pulled back into what you need it to be. But you see so many people, don't you, like using phrases or the same groups of language and stuff like that, which you can almost like envisage what the prompt would have been in your head to get that. So it's like, I mean, my favorite is supercharged. Like, every business is now supercharged apparently, and it's just like ChatGPT loves giving you that word.
Or reimagined. That's a huge one,
Digital world as well is quite up there. Digital, and obviously the M dashes and stuff like that. I think that's actually one of my biggest icks with AI at the moment, is where it's, and I don't know if it's because we pay attention to this stuff a lot more, but when you're on LinkedIn and you see someone who's done a post and there's like 1,000 emojis and it's like supercharged and all of this sort of stuff, it's just so obvious to me that it's been ChatGPT.
It feels like a lack of care as well, doesn't it? Because obviously not everyone, but a lot of people are using AI, and that's absolutely fine, but at least take the time and the care to kind of review it and still make sure it aligns with your tone of voice and your approach and what you actually think, rather than just pumping out content because it's quick. Yeah,
definitely. And I think so many people right now using sort of ChatGPT for content are just adding to noise. And I think we're, because now basically the kind of democratization of content production that AI has enabled has just led to so much shit content. And I think the brands that will win will be the ones that actually probably do less but do it better. And I think if you're like talking about organic content, then obviously there's like almost like a minimal viable amount of organic content that you have to do, and great, ChatGPT or generative AI kind of images or whatever will help you get to that point, but you have to kind of get very good at like identifying, okay, that's just noise, this is actually good, is this still storytelling, is this still within our strategy, is this actually helping our brand, or are we just like
what's the point of this content? It's like coming back to what are your kind of KPIs, or you know, what are your goals for the business and stuff, and just kind of working backwards and kind of putting your content through a bit of a lens every time and making sure that it actually relates back to your brand strategy, and does it actually sound like your brand, or does it sound like every other fucking AI person?
True. So how, like more broadly speaking, how do you think that AI is going to impact the sort of marketing agency model in general?
I think, you know, anyone who's kind of focused on literally just output as an agency, whether it's, you know, if you're a design agency, for example, if you're just focused on doing creatives, or, you know, marketing, if you're just focused on doing social posts and stuff like that, without the kind of the wider strategy and the kind of, you know, the experience that goes with it, with client interactions and all of that, then you'll be done for work pretty soon and pretty quick. Like we were saying there, the importance still lies in the strategy side of it. So I think we're going to move away from being production houses, which is quite a good thing really, because quite a lot of that work is boring work, and you can get it done quickly as long as you've got the strategy overview. And we can look more at like the bigger picture stuff, which is the exciting stuff. But it also means that there will be jobs that don't exist anymore. You've got to change, you've got to amend how you work, but I don't know, if you're open to change, then it'll be an exciting time.
I mean, I think marketing agencies have always had to have quite a high level of agility anyway to stay relevant, because tools and systems and everything are changing all the time, and best practices are changing, and like, you know, every now and then a new platform just pops up out of nowhere and you're like, right, we better get pretty good at understanding what Instagram does or what Threads does or whatever. So I think it's another one of them. But I think in terms of like the actual agency or like expectations of an agency, and we've spoken about this before, but I think what AI is going to do is, so as entry to production is lowered or democratized and more people can do things, I think if you're paying an agency to do things for you, then the volume expectation is going to go up in terms of just deliverables, because they're like, well, aren't you using AI? Shouldn't this be? So what used to be, I don't know, one piece of creative for an ad set, for example, will now be, the expectation would be, well, you can use AI, so you need to generate like 10 of these, for example. And I think that's why agencies will still stay relevant, because hopefully we should be at the forefront of like ensuring that we can meet those volume requirements or those new expectations. Like I've already had conversations with clients and they're like, okay, so you've said that a website's going to cost this much to build. Can I not just use AI to do it? And I'm like, well, you let me know how you get on with doing that. But I don't think we're far away from someone being able to just generate or put a prompt into an AI tool and throw up a website that's near enough there. But the skill of the agency will be the kind of discernibility to assess that website and go, okay, is this mapped out properly? What does the user journey look like? How does this fit into your broader strategy? I mean, you'll probably have a website there and it will look like okay, but then I think the agency coming in and making sure that it is, you know, plugged into all of your tools and stuff like that and in line with your strategy is where we'll lean more towards.
Definitely. It all comes back to the kind of the holistic strategic kind of view, because pretty much anyone can, you know, right now that anyone can build a website on a DIY tool, I don't know, Squarespace, something like that, but you know, does it actually get you to your goals in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be? Like, is it actually providing the customer experience that you want? You know, there's so many other things which have to be taken into account to actually maximize your business rather than just generating a pretty looking website. And it's very hard for us to sit here and say that AI won't be able to do that at some point soon, because just literally no one knows. But the value definitely sits in the strategy for sure.
So with regards to, obviously, everyone's using AI at the moment to do things, marketeers, everyone across business, etc. Is there one thing like specific to marketing that you wouldn't trust AI with at the moment?
I still place a lot of value, for example, on like a brand strategy workshop. So getting all of like the primary stakeholders of a business, getting all the primary stakeholders of a business in a room to actually chat things out, you know, because they're chatting about their lived human experience of working in a business day to day, and all the, like we're saying, all the little nuances that they've noticed individually, and then bringing that all together to figure out the actual pain points of the business, the actual goals, the strengths, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know how you'd replicate that with AI at the minute. Like, that is so key to kind of creating trust in the future with your audience and a business that actually thrives from like an employer brand point as well, and creating the best culture. The way I'm using AI at the moment for kind of writing strategies and things like that, like I am back and forward with it a million times to get rid of the overdone phrases and all of that stuff, and making sure it's actually really sounds like individual to their brand. So it's still very high human touch at this point, and like we're saying, having that kind of holistic view of the full business as well. Marketing wise, I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, for me, because I agree with everything you've said, like it's great if you're doing like a marketing strategy or a brand strategy workshop where, say, you're, you know, using Otter to record it, and then it'll give you a transcript, and then you can summarize that transcript using AI, and then you can kind of refer back to it and things like that. That's great, and it's definitely like a time-saving tool. But what it doesn't capture is like, and it sounds stupid, but like the look on the person's face when they're telling you, like, you know, the business mission and vision and stuff like that. Like you can really, it's never going to pick up that kind of the human nuance of they're saying one thing, but the tone of how they're saying it helps you interpret what they're saying and stuff like that. And just to flesh that out more as well, I think, so if you imagine sort of a marketing agency, a key thing that we do is build relationships with clients. And at the moment, we use AI to enhance that, in that we can make sure that we stay on top of like things they've said, like using what I've just detailed there with the transcribing and note taking and all of that sort of stuff. But I think, in my view, we're miles away from AI being able to like accurately manage a relationship with someone. Like, and I know we're not far off probably like automatic email responses and things like that. And you could probably get it so Google could read your whole thread of emails and then give you a response and handle it for you. I think I'm quite far away from trusting say there's an email thread and it's an important email thread about, oh, you've invoiced us this and it wasn't this much and this is now out of scope or whatever, those kind of conversations, I think there will always need to be like a very good account manager that understands human relationships, and just all the caveats that come out through human relationships or client and agency relationships. I think AI is very far away from being able to manage. Like, it can support you now, but I don't think it can like customer service in general, like with chatbots and all of those sort of things. Great, but the way I'd love to see it go is that like AI does a lot of the kind of the grunt work, so it frees us up to just be like have more human interaction and gain better understanding of people in the room. Yeah,
the human on human stuff, which AI can't do. Yeah, I mean, like that already exists, right? The email kind of replies when it looks at everything and then it drafts up a reply and then you can kind of review it before it gets sent, which probably is like a huge time saver for, your general emails that don't take much thought and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't trust it just to be firing out replies to clients. That would make me so nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that, because I've got a bit of a bugbear with sort of chat agents and things like that I've spoken about before, just how much I hate not being able to get in touch with a human. And obviously the logical model over the last few years in hospitality was like, okay, we'll get rid of customer service because that can now be handled through a learning chatbot that then generates responses. I really hope that we kind of revert back to the point where, okay, we've saved all this resource through AI in other areas of the business. We're a hospitality business and people like dealing with people in that instance. You know what I mean? So it's a bit more like any sort of luxury purchase, but like hopefully non-luxury purchases become more like luxury purchases. Like, when you go and, not that I've ever gone and bought a Maserati or something like that or a yacht, but presumably you're dealt with
high touch human.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like you're chatting to someone, they install trust in you and all of those sort of things. And I think that chatbots kind of, if anything, they turn me off. I'm like, well, if I can't speak to a human, then I'm not interested in your product or service. But people looking at spreadsheets see a cost saving there and implement all this stuff, and I'm just like, let's use AI to bring it back to, I want to ring a bank. It's an important conversation. It either needs to be a really, really bloody good AI or it needs to be a human or feel like a human.
I think the difficulty now is that a lot of the chatbots and the AI solutions aren't good enough. So they just cause frustration. I think, in a year or so, maybe less, maybe a bit more, they will get so good that you won't even notice that you're not speaking to a human. But I do agree, like potentially there will be a time where the human interaction is almost like the gold standard. Like you pay a bit extra because you want that. People start desiring it because they miss just connection. Which hopefully is the case. We don't just get rid of human connection.
Can't ever
completely.
Actually talk to a human anymore.
Who needs
but I generally think that like a good strategy for businesses now is to reorientate like their business around, okay, these are the human touch points that are so integral to the perception of our brand and our services, and these are the ones that AI can handle. And rather than going, okay, AI can handle that because it's easy for AI to handle that, be like, where are we really providing value across our business from a human standpoint, and work it around that way, and making sure that there is like humans you can deal with. And like with us, when I'm saying there, with like still having strong account managers that build relationships and things like that, I think every business should start to inherit that a little bit more, rather than just like, oh well, AI can do chatbots now, so we'll just get rid of our customer service team. And
if that's highly valued by your customers currently, then keep it. Not everything has to be automated if it's making you money.
So we've obviously recently lived through this kind of thing where AI is now generating influencers and things like that. Like obviously most recently, I think it was Mia Zilu at Wimbledon that everyone sort of like lost their mind over. What are your thoughts? So she was obviously AI generated, so a completely fictional character, doesn't exist in real life, did a post, went viral with a generated image, and obviously you've got everything from the weird blokes commenting stuff underneath through to people like actively following it. And how do you think that's going to evolve over the next couple of years in marketing?
It's a really weird one. I came across her TikTok account a while ago before Wimbledon, and I was kind of going through it for a while because I was like, is she real? She looks so perfect. Like she's gorgeous. And all the comments, not one person was saying this is AI. Like every comment was just like, like guys like ogling over this girl and stuff. And I was like, I'm pretty certain this is AI. And then the Wimbledon thing happened and I was like, knew it. She's
Yeah.
got a weird looking knee.
Yeah, her legs are really long.
Yeah.
Her hands are massive. This is all weird, different proportions.
But yeah, she has like over 100,000 followers, probably more now on socials. Yeah, I find it very strange. At the minute, I don't like it because I think she is she, they, it is parading as if they're real. So there's a real like weird trust element there.
Yeah, so it's just kind of lying.
It's deception.
Yes.
I don't mind it, like if it's like AI's been used to create like an ad or something like that, because generally people aren't looking to ads going, that's real.
That's completely real. Red Bull really gives you wings.
Yeah, exactly. Like you kind of expect things to be made up using, I don't know, back it would have been like CGI or whatever it was. Yeah. That's fine, I think. People understand that. But at this point in time where people haven't really been able to a lot of people can't decipher when something is AI and when it's not. Yeah, it just sits a bit weird for me. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I mean, because I kind of waded in on this on LinkedIn and was sort of like, I think at the moment there's like this distinctive gap between those who can identify AI and don't take it that seriously and those that are taking it way too seriously. So my kind of LinkedIn post was like, guys, we need to stop deeping this so much, because in my view, and we're probably like the demographic that's bang in the middle, but like if you chat to anyone sort of, I don't know, 30 and younger, they've grown up in an era where, they've played Fortnite and spent 30 quid on a new gun for their fake character that doesn't actually exist, and it's like in a sense it's artificial, but it's very real to that person. Do you know what I mean? You probably, I don't know, paid to unlock a level on Sims and then you've built your house out and all of that, and we've kind of grown up with that, so it's like the logical progression.
Yes.
But then the older generation who have grown up with like, the George Clooney confessing to drink an espresso, that kind of know that that's bollocks, but don't really mind. It's still, in my view, it's like same shovel, different shit is what I've said. Like it's still kind of like a level of deception, but the line seems to be like, okay, this person's completely fabricated for the older people, and they're like, I don't like it. I think for them it's kind of like almost like a moral and ethical issue. And I do think when it comes to like managing expectations and mental health issues and all of that for younger people, putting all these expectations up here of like, something that doesn't even exist is problematic. But in my view, it's like, well, we've kind of been doing that for years anyway.
It is just another version of it, I guess. But I think it's the difficulty is, like you're saying, like the older generation that don't know at all or can't decipher if it's real or it's not, and then I think it's because it's not so much the influencers not being fake, it's then kind of thinking about, well, if that is fake and a lot of people are believing it, then what else is fake out there? What can I trust anymore? And then you go into the whole like deep fakes and all of that stuff, and it becomes quite a web of scariness of just not being able to kind of take something for what it is anymore, and just I think your whole world just gets a bit shaken.
I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what's what. But
it is just the way things are going, and like I've said with a few things now, like it's weird now, but in a year it'll get a lot weirder, but also you get used to things so quickly. So all of a sudden we'll be looking back and going like, can't believe we never had AI influencers before. Can't believe we had real ones. It'll all change so fast, and humans do change with things quickly. So.
I think we'll get very used to it very quickly. And I do think as a strategy for like if you're a business and you haven't got loads of money to spend on influencer marketing, which historically is like a fucking wild
crazy
west
expensive.
of like marketing, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, how much is it for you to do a post and wear this? It's like, $1 million. You're like, okay, great. For those kind of businesses that like influencer marketing is a good strategy, then I think the capacity to kind of like generate a character, build associations with it, allow people to build a relationship with this character, real or not, I think is going to become more prominent in marketing. But again, I don't think that's a million miles away from like when brands have created a character like Tony the Tiger, for example. It's like it's not a real tiger. Do you know what I mean? But kids all over the land will like want to have a Tony the Tiger toy or whatever. And it's just a kind of that in a new outfit.
It's the evolution.
But I do appreciate the kind of like moral and ethical side of it when it's like, what is this doing to people's brains? But I'm like, it's a bit late in the day to be asking that question, because this has been going on for as long as I can remember. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's done now.
Yeah, it's done. It's over. We're all fucked.
Yeah, it's moving at insane speed. So yeah, just need to get used to it. Is what it is, and there won't be any regulation probably on it anytime soon. So
no, and I do think the only way that we can kind of mitigate it becoming another Wild West in marketing of what's real and what's not is kind of like tighter regulation on things. And I think like the Advertising Standard Agency needs to get better at being like, and I think they do it in some European countries, don't they, when they like, if they've altered an image, they'll say, like, I think in I can't remember, I saw a LinkedIn post on it, I think it's in like Norway, and all the kind of like bus stop ads that you would normally see in America with like Nicole Scherzinger on eating a yogurt or whatever, which is obviously edited, but in America they're like they don't give a shit. Whereas in like Norway and stuff, they've like, I think legally they have to say like
this has been photoshopped or whatever.
And I think that will become more of a thing where you have to kind of acknowledge it or say it in the small print.
This ad uses AI or whatever.
What were your thoughts on the Coca-Cola AI Christmas ad? Did you see it?
Yeah, I have seen it. Well, as in the fact that it was fully generated by AI.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me too much. I think it's just like a movie like Avatar's made, or you know what I mean. It's just it is what it is. It's the way forward, you know, and it's pretty crap, obviously, for people that work in that industry. You know, quite scary if, you know, you're a model, you do ad work, etc. Totally understand. Totally understand that would be pretty rubbish. But yeah, I do just think that's just the way the world's going to go. So it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, I think interestingly, I don't think the ad was that great. Like it was just, to me, it was just another Coca-Cola ad. I think unless I was looking closely at it, I probably wouldn't have known it was AI generated. But it was one of them where it was almost like the amount of press mentions and noise that it created because it was AI kind of made it more impactful than the ad itself would have been. And I think that that will start to wear off as we move through the next 3 years or the next few years, where we're like, oh, it was made with AI. People are going to be like, I don't really care. Do you know what I mean?
It just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
Like when we went to the web conference in Lisbon last year, the whole conference pretty much was about AI. Every stand, every business, AI. And it was boring. Like, as in, like, to hear about that continuously, I'm like, I don't care that it's done with AI. Just tell me the outcome that's generated at the end of it. Like, what's my life going to look like because of your business, not the how. Like, I didn't care about your CRM before. I didn't care about your automation tools before. So you don't need to tell me about the AI now. Just give me the end sort of thing. And then there was the whole Dragon's Den pitch as well that went on, where these different small business come up and they pitch to these judges, and you know, someone wins at the end, and it's really good. But basically all the businesses had AI involved, and then one business came up and said they weren't using AI, and the whole crowd just roared and clapped, because I think they were all just so fed up with hearing about AI at this conference, and just in general, which I thought was quite interesting. Just people already just craving that like human built experience.
I think it's really worn off, because there was definitely a period of time, which was quite short, I think, over the last couple of years, where baking AI powered or supercharged by AI or whatever into your messaging, particularly in this sort of tech space, was like appealing. So it would have probably got you more clicks if you were like, I don't know, a data architecture business and you said insights powered by AI, for example. And I think that held clout for a little bit, because it was like, oh, they're a first mover, they're using this new tool, that must mean it's better. But now I think we're kind of reverting back, or I hope we start reverting back to just outcomes, like you're saying there, because no one gives a shit. Really. It's like when you're working with a photographer and they're telling you about their lens and f-stop and all of that, you're like, mate,
do I look fit?
yeah. Is that a good photo of me?
Yeah.
And does my bum look nice?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's all I care about. Yeah. And I'm hoping that like we'll start to see a move away from businesses. And I think I actually had some stats on here. Or not stats, but so the Journal of Hospitality, Marketing and Management said that across multiple product categories, products described as AI powered have consistently seen a significant decline in consumer intention to buy or use. And this was particularly pronounced in products perceived as high risk, so like medical diagnosis and like expensive things. So like basically people need to stop talking about AI.
Even if you're doing it, don't need to speak about it.
Yeah, just focus on the outcome, right?
Yeah. I think, I mean, talking about the medical side of it, I think, I can't remember who said this. Was it you? You had a doctor friend that was saying that they use AI every time they're kind of speaking to a client, a patient or whatever, and it's never been wrong, basically, with the diagnosis it's given. But interestingly, as the patient, you wouldn't want to know that and you wouldn't want to trust it.
Oh, God, no.
No,
like,
even though they've said that. So I'm like, use it, but just don't tell anyone.
Yeah, and I think, don't get me wrong, I do think there'll be like a lot of positive transformations across all of the industries because of AI, like its capacity to like analyze data and give you, like, if you could program in like a DNA sequence and be like, find the faults, for example. I mean, I'm not a medical guy at all. I don't even know if that's a thing, but for it to review data and then give you all of the potential outcomes way quicker rather than like a doctor having to look through all of the stuff, like that's amazing. And I think it's, at the moment, we just really need, because like the other day when we were chatting in the office, you were like, well, I'm allowed to say that you were petrified of like the future, or like very apprehensive of the future. And I'm kind of like, I think we can be part of the solution in that we can tell a different story about it. But right now, to me, all the stories seem to be very scary, and maybe rightly so. Like, don't get me wrong, there's definitely like an underlying fear that the world's all gonna end and it's gonna be Terminator 3 before we know it. But at the same time, I think as marketeers and as people, we need to get better at telling the story around AI and focus in on all of the good stuff that's happening, because there's a lot of sensationalist bad headlines at the moment that is just scaring everyone.
Yeah, it's fear-mongering.
Yeah, and like I said the other day, when people are making decisions through fear, they tend to be bad decisions. So I'm like, let's just shift the story to all the positive stuff that's happening.
I mean, there's so much positive stuff that can come out of using AI, and it's, there already is huge movements of positive outcomes that have happened, in medical side, or, in business, like we were saying before, democratizes business a lot, allows, the smaller people to rise up and, take over these huge companies that they wouldn't have been able to do before, because they need to hire the same amount of people. They would have needed the same resources, but now the smaller person is more agile and more innovative, and these huge companies that are stuck with a load of red tape that were bringing in all the money can't move, and they're stuck in their ways. So, that's a really exciting time, and that's really cool. So, used in the right way, it will be really exciting. My apprehension is just that the people that really hold the keys to the direction of the world are sadly very money and power hungry, i.e. Donald Trump, etc.
Elon.
All of those people, annoyingly, they hold so much power, and they will hold more and more power, because AI is, a data business. And they know how to gather it and manipulate it on mass scale. If they had a good heart and wanted to do good, we could be going into absolute utopia, and it'd be amazing. But the apprehension just lies on it going the other way, because they don't have the right
I definitely
direction.
acknowledge that it's probably going to get better or gets worse before it gets better. I think with AI, but I'm just fully here for the kind of utopia that it could create.
I'm here for it.
I'm just like, fantastic. And I think as humans, we've always been very good at following orders. So if AI ends up giving us orders, and as long as they're kind of the right ones based on the best side of humanity, then happy days. Could be so easy, couldn't it? Just like ask AI, should I do this? They're like, you're like, great, fine. Decision made. Well, fingers crossed.
Fingers
crossed. Just bringing it back to sort of branding and marketing. How do you feel about sort of like, well, I've written here AI generated logos and identities, but more broadly, like AI generated content we've touched upon there. Is it a good thing or a bad thing at the moment, do you think?
I think, like we were saying before, I think it's a good thing for, at the minute, being your like engine room to help you kind of, at the start, probably like generate some ideas, kind of get your brain ticking, etc. But then kind of, as long as you're coming in and kind of assessing it, making sure it's aligned with the brand, etc., then that's when you'll get the good output. I don't think AI, from what I've seen as well, is very good at kind of creating like full brand systems at the minute that kind of take into account everything to do with the business. Like they might be able to logo generate, you know, as you've been able to do that for ages, or, you know, create a color palette or whatever, but like, is it actually based in the full brand strategy and the big picture? At the minute, I haven't seen that done well.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, what about you?
No, I agree. I think that like we've said, that the kind of content that it's pumping out at the moment isn't great.
It's quite generic.
And I think it stops the thinking, which is the key issue, because it's like you can get from point A to point B really quickly, and everyone now kind of calls that productivity, and I'm like, productivity is only as good as the value that has created. And people are like, oh, we're way more productive now because our volume of creative work has gone from point A to point B. And you're like, yeah, but have you moved the dial in terms of you're providing more value? Probably not. And then when you see some of the like content that's actually been created, like it's shit.
Yeah.
Like most of the time it's shit. Like it's an outlier when you first prompt you put in, get something from it that is actually even usable. Like I think it's great in the idea generation phase, do you know what I mean? But I think in terms of like it actually giving deliverables that are as good as what a human could do right now, I don't think we're there yet. Will we get there soon? I think so. But I think right now you're probably almost level pegging between the amount of resource it would take to refine the deliverable from the prompt, as it would be to just like have a go at it from scratch. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess it depends on, you know, what we're talking about. If we're kind of just talking about brand identities, etc. Like I know I've seen some people using like Google VO3 and multiple other AI tools to create incredible like ads that look like they would have cost about, I don't know, a few million like a year ago to have produced.
Yeah.
But the amount of skill in the prompting that would have taken is insane. Like that has come from a human's innovative ideas.
Yeah.
Like that has not come out of ChatGPT, give me an advert for this brand. Like that has come from like a real vision and an understanding of what you want the end to be, and also a real understanding of like how to use each tool to its best.
Yeah.
So the output can be absolutely incredible, but the human touch still needs to be so high to get there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where the gap will start to grow, right? Is that like people that are using AI a lot will get very good at using the tools, and then the people that are kind of, and this is why I have a problem with the whole fear thing, because I think a lot of people are scared, so they don't want to contribute and they don't want to like use the tools, but then you're going to be left in the dirt behind everyone else that is using them. And right now you kind of see, you fall into a few camps, right? But like you see it on LinkedIn or wherever when people are talking about it, and some people are like hating on it and then kind of putting a stake in the ground saying I'm not going to be using it. And I'm like, okay, but that's probably not a great strategy for when, you know, it's like when tractors became a thing, when everyone was using horses, and all the people with horses were like, I'm not using a tractor.
Yeah.
50 years later, how's that gone? You know? But I do think there's room for kind of most of the models, because some people will always have that sentiment around it, and they will want to work with people, and they'll want it to be people doing, you know, the stuff rather than AI. But I think it will become more and more AI driven. Yeah. You know what I mean? You will 100% be left in the dust if you don't use AI now. Like it's like using a computer to type. If you just we're stuck just writing every word out and stuff. Like it's just, I'm still using a wax tablet.
There's just no way you're going to be able to compete, move fast enough, provide the end which everyone is going to come to expect as like the norm, because the outcomes are going to get more and more personalized. So for example, in marketing, that'll be a huge thing. The hyper personalization is going to be like so incredible. So like every marketing campaign is going to be so personal to you, like way above anything you've ever had before. So if you've got another business which isn't using AI, you're not going to speak to the person like every other business is speaking to them. Yeah. So it's just going to become irrelevant. It's going to be completely impossible to target someone, because they'll just be so used to having every pain point that they've got inside their head answered by these other brands.
Well, and it feeling just hyper bespoke.
Yeah, so bespoke. Yeah. So get on board.
Yeah.